All right, well, we are back here. Marketing to sellers is this section. We've been covering a lot of stuff here. What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry, I just wiped that. I don't know why I thought that was funny. It's just,
all right, we'll keep
he was trying to be serious, yeah.
Okay, we'll
start
I'm
trying to be serious and I can't.
Here we go. All right, guys, hey, we're back here for this section, which is marketing to sellers. And we've been covering a lot of stuff so far, and now we're going to dig into marketing to sellers here. This is something that when we do our live events, we spend a crap ton of time on marketing to sellers, and you do like hours.
Half a day. I mean, we could go a full day. So this is definitely the crash course on marketing to sellers.
Yeah, because we've already been in studio for like 23 hours straight. And we just scratched the surface. We
really did. If I was on the other side, I wouldn't know where to start right now.
Well, we're going to get there.
We've identified what a lease option assignment is, which is what we do, right?
Yep.
That's what we, the investor, do to make money. And we've kind of went over an introduction of lease options, some other, investment strategies, and now we're going to discuss, okay, we're doing a lease option assignment. Where do we start? And we're starting at, we got to find the house, and therefore we have to find the seller.
Yep. So we're going to talk. So now we're going to talk about how do we market to sellers. We talked about the sellers that we typically market to, which is for sale by owner, for rent by owner, listed houses, particularly houses that are over 30, 60, 90 days old. So we're going to go into marketing to sellers here. I've got on this part of the presentation, we've got some different ways to market to sellers. A lot of them are free, so you'll definitely want to make note of these ideas. So one of the things I talk about is that creativity will always beat recklessly used money. What do I mean by that? Is people think they've got to have a huge marketing budget, and you don't. You really don't. I always say the worst advertising I've ever done is when I had a lot of money to advertise.
Yeah.
The best advertising I've ever done is when I used creativity to come up with ways to market that really cost either nothing or very, very little.
Yeah, and some of the creative freeways, or even just the not creative freeways, can be just as good as the paid ways. I mean, just starting out, the first few deals that I did, I found the sellers on Craigslist. They were for sale by owner on Craigslist, which is one of the ways that we're going to identify. But I agree with you. I've seen a lot of people throw a lot of money at a mailing list or something like that where it didn't work.
Yeah, and we'll get into direct mail, because direct mail is certainly an art, and that's going to be your most expensive way to market. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to spend thousands of dollars just for no reason. So, so let's go through some of these ways here. So this is like 14 ways to market to sellers, and I'm not going to go into each one in detail, but I'll market, kind of point them out.
Yeah, we'll identify where you could.
For sale by owner, for rent by owner, those are sort of the top two ways where you're going out, you're even calling the seller, or for rent by owner. If they got their house for rent, typically it's because it didn't sell, they tried to sell it. So you're calling for sale by owner, for rent by owner, seeing if they would be interested in doing a short-term lease purchase. I always say short-term, full-price lease purchase. Right. Houses that are for lease, typically, and not always, but typically if a house is for lease, if it's on the MLS for lease, the owner, again, was trying to sell it and it didn't, and now they're just like, screw it, let's just lease the damn thing.
Right, and when you're going after rental properties by owner, don't go downtown Dallas, Texas, or a college town where it clearly is an income property, right? You're looking for nicer single-family homes, maybe in a suburb or kind of on the outskirts of town that is not an income property, right? Those are the houses that, like you said, they, more times than not, the seller would like to sell, but their plan B is just, well, let's rent it out, and they don't know about a lease option.
Yeah, and so that's where you introduce them to the lease purchase and what that is. Listed houses, we target with direct mail 60, 90, 120, and expireds. That's a great way, and that's the best list to use for direct mail, which is we'll cover in detail later. REI meetings. Most of the people that go to REI meetings either haven't done a thing in their life, or they're wholesalers, fix and flip,
or both.
And those are great sources for, again, getting the leads that they were going to throw away anyway. The leads that don't fit their criteria they're not a wholesale deal.
Right.
So you can offer them, say $1,000 a lead, or just offer to split whatever you're going to make on the lease option with them, versus them just throwing the lead away. I call this my magic business card. I may have a picture of it on this slide. All it is it's a card. It's just a business card with big font. It's in color. It says, "I pay $1,000 for low equity leads." And so what you're doing is you're handing that out to the wholesalers at REI meetings, so that they know exactly what you're doing, that you're going to pay them for those leads. Now, obviously, you don't pay them until you close the deal.
Right,
but
right.
the point is they were going to throw those leads away anyway.
Right.
Bandit signs. Bandit signs are put out by wholesalers. So you call them up and say, "Hey, I saw your sign out there that you buy houses. You're a wholesaler, I take it. I assume you probably get a lot of leads."
And even if they're not, even if they're regular investors that do the fix and flips,
Right,
well, perfect,
Yep.
That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't go wrong.
They're still going to get leads that they're going to throw away. Contractors. Most contractors have worked or are working for investors.
Or our investors.
Or our investors. So you can definitely talk to the contractors and find out if they are working for an investor, get that investor's information. VAs, virtual assistants, they can go out, obviously, online and start pulling the data from, whether it be Craigslist or Zillow or whatever, to get the leads for you for people that are trying to sell or trying to rent the houses. Bird dogs, that's something we talk about in at our live event, how to set that up as a business. But you can have bird dogs go out and find the houses that are for sale by owner, for rent by owner. Driving for dollars, that's how I found the first 2 houses I got.
And bird dogs and driving for dollars are especially useful if you're kind of in a smaller town, maybe an older town where sellers, they just put a for sale by owner sign in the yard or a for rent sign on the house, and they don't even put it online. In a major city, most sellers, I feel, are going to put that on Zillow or Craigslist or something as well. But especially in those, smaller towns and, kind of rural places, bird dogs and driving for dollars is especially more useful.
Text. A lot of people talk about Text Blast, RVM, ringless voicemail. Text Blast software. We actually utilize a web scraper software that will go out and email sellers or for people that have their houses for rent. So all these are really free except for, say, Text Blast or say the software that we utilize. And so you don't have to spend a lot of money for marketing. You can actually do this. You can do the marketing for free. It just may take a little bit of time.
More time.
A little investment in time.
But the best places, as far as where specifically to find the FSBOs and the for rent by owner, I would say Zillow and Craigslist. And ForSaleByOwner.com used to be a site. I don't know if it's as popular anymore.
Yeah, and I don't. It's for sale by owner, byowner.com. Those are not really popularly. They're not highly used.
Yeah, you'll have enough leads if just on Zillow alone. If you're calling or texting, all the sellers, and it's important to say, these are by owner, not agent listed properties, right? But I would start on Zillow, and you can work your way to Craigslist, and by then you should have a steady flow of leads.
Oh, definitely. Now, one of the things that's so important when you're marketing is to sellers is only focus on 4 or 5 of these strategies. Otherwise, you're going to spread yourself so thin as far as your focus on these strategies that if you try to do 10 of them or whatever, you're going to suck at all of them. So only focus on 3, 4, maybe 5 of these strategies to generate your seller leads. Otherwise, you're just going to barely do hardly any work on any of them, and you're going to suck at all of them.
Yeah.
So I suggest starting off with this. We already talked about this. Cold calling for sale by owner and for rent by owner homeowners. Bird dogs, pay them nicely. Don't just pay them $500 for every deal you close. Pay them even whatever. If you want to start off paying them a deal split, you could do that. I would suggest probably paying them $1,000 or $1,500 for each deal that they bring you that you close. Again, driving for dollars, that's free. You just crank up, turn on a podcast or music and drive around. You can find, I don't care where you live, I guarantee you, you can drive an hour and find lots of houses that are for rent or for sale by owner. Again, paying for I call them skinny leads, low equity leads through real estate groups, calling bandit signs. Again, all this so far is free. So I suggest starting off with these things first, especially the cold calling. Even though a lot of people get nervous about cold calling, it's so incredibly simple. When we do our live training, we on the second morning we do live calls.
We do, yeah.
And we never know what's going to happen.
No.
Sometimes we've been calling for like an hour, sometimes different numbers, both of us, and we get hold of like 2 people.
Right. Or somebody that's mean to us, or tells us some not so nice things. Which goes to show we're not invincible, right? Bad things happen to us too.
And so it's talking to people and doing that cold calling. I think it's highly important because it gets you into your groove and into your flow and gets you comfortable with just having a conversation. And when people hear us talk at the live events and hear us talk to sellers, they realize, it's not complicated because we're not negotiating, we're not asking 1,000 questions.
What do you say? I'm sure people at home here want to know, well, what do you say on the phone, to sellers? I don't know if you go over scripts here or something like that, but at the end of the day, it's very simple, right? Hey, I saw your home for sale.
Yep.
Would you consider selling it through a lease purchase, right?
I always say through a short-term, full-price lease purchase, and then kind of shut up and see what they say. Mm-hmm. And then if they say no,
right?
Depending on what they say, I may say, well, I'll tell you what. Let me tell you a little bit more about what this is, because there's no commissions.
Right.
You don't pay us a dime.
Right.
And I'll tell them a little bit more about what we do. And then I say, how about this? How about I just get your email address? I can shoot you a couple of emails just showing what we do and just some preliminary numbers. Send that to you. Take a look, and we can follow up tomorrow. And so it's it's not threatening to them at all.
Right.
And I'm just getting their information to send these emails out, and then I'll follow up with them. And then once they get those emails, and they can see visually, okay, now I see how this works.
And once you put the prices in front of them, and they see, whoa, this is a lot more that I would make versus selling it with an agent or whatever.
Especially if I send a comparison sheet. We have a comparison sheet that we use that we can send to sellers, and it shows how much they would if they're going to list it with an agent, about what they would net. I mean, obviously before their final closing cost, but what they would get versus a lease purchase and what they're going to get, and how much more they're going to make plus their cash flow.
And that's powerful.
So again, some different ways to find for sale by owner or for rent by owner. Craigslist, obviously. Zillow, Joe's talked about that. Military by owner is a great one for people, especially we talked about VA loans, people that had VA loans. For sale by owner, again, it's not as popular as Zillow now. My Plus Leads is a good, we've had pretty good success with My Plus Leads. Obviously,
that's a paid service, but it's still targeting the same things. Yeah,
the for sale by owner. So when cold calling people, don't try to educate the owner on every possible aspect of the lease option. Because keep in mind, real estate agents don't understand what a lease option is. So the owners, darn sure not going to understand what a lease option is. You're just hitting the highlights. It's a short-term, full-price lease purchase, and you'll typically get cashed out within 8 to 12 months, right in there. But full price, no commissions, you don't pay us anything, and you're going to cash flow. And you just kind of leave it at that. You don't go into a whole lengthy discussion.
Right.
When I talk to a seller on the phone, normally it's a very short conversation, but obviously let the conversation flow. And if I spend even 8 minutes on the phone with a seller, that means I probably spent 2 minutes talking about the house, and 6 minutes just BSing, and getting and building that relationship. And so you're just having that conversation.
And on the flip side, I don't let the seller ask a million questions either.
Right.
You just hey, here's what we do. Here's what you can get. Let me send you some prices, and we'll go from there.
Yep. Just hit the benefits, get their email address, and and that's it. So it's very, very simple to talk to sellers on the phone about lease option.
And we didn't say, well, what repairs are needed, or
we didn't ask, well, how many? What's your mortgage?
What's your
what's
payment
your interest
amount?
rate?
Yeah.
Would you be willing would you be willing for us to take over payments? Those types of things, because that's why you ask a seller that's going to be more motivated. In other words, they're more desperate.
Right.
So again, we've got a series of emails that we send out. We send just a couple of emails. We send the How Does the Lease Purchase Help email. It explains exactly how the flow of the lease purchase works. Then we send the seller price sheet, which I'll show you on another section here. where we put the numbers together very easily, send that to them. Now they see the numbers right there very easily, how much you're going to make, what they're going to get per month in cash flow. And then we just follow up with them and say, hey, did you have a chance to look at those emails? And do you have any questions about the numbers or anything like that? And they typically have the most common question the seller has when I call them after I've sent these emails and sent the numbers, the most common question that a seller has is, how quickly can you find somebody?
Right.
That's the most common question they ask.
And how quickly can we find somebody?
Yeah, and typically it takes us, it's going to depend on the price of the house, but typically 45 to 60 days, we've got somebody. Obviously, it depends on the timing of the year.
Yeah, we found people within days before, and
yeah.
sometimes it takes 2 months, you know. But if it's in a good area and it's priced right, you know, not very long at all.
So we send that price sheet, we call them the next day, answer any questions they have, and then put the documents together. Again, very easy. And then again, like I said, when you're explaining the program, you just hit the bullet points. For the seller and the buyer, you just don't over-explain it at all. Let's talk about bird dogs for a second. I like to say, you can have them find houses that are distressed, which are going to be wholesale deals, for sale by owner and for rent by owner. So they're finding all these different types of properties for you.
And I'm sorry, if I was just starting out, what is a bird dog?
So a bird dog is somebody who's going out basically driving for dollars, looking for houses for you that meet your criteria. And now bird dogs are only associated with wholesalers, where the bird dog goes out and finds distressed properties, where maybe boarded up, vacant, tall grass, whatever the case may be. But you can use them for nice houses as well, houses that are for sale by owner, for rent by owner. But you can have them bring you all these leads. Uber drivers, which is something we talk about.
Pizza delivery drivers.
Uber drivers are great. Uber drivers, I guarantee you, I'm not going to cover the whole section on this, but you get 6 to 8 Uber drivers and you say, listen, I'll pay you $1,000 for each deal that I close. And you give them there's a whole way that we teach how to set this up, but you offer to pay them $1,000 for each deal that you close. You get 6 Uber drivers, and they get so excited about that, right? You say, here's what I'm looking for. It's very simple. And you get 6 to 8 Uber drivers doing this for you. You're going to get so many leads. I guarantee you're not going to be able to keep up with it. I guarantee you that. And these are free leads. You don't pay anything until you close the deal, right? And so Uber drivers are a great resource for bird dogs. And again, when we do the live training, we talk about how to set the bird dogs up as a business so the stick rate is really solid. They don't just disappear on you. And we talk about it at the live training, how you can actually pay them a small hourly, give them a quota, and it works out really nicely. But a bird dog, is someone out there driving for dollars for you.
Right. But targeting the FSBOs, the rentals, bird dogging, the main takeaway I get from this is that we have no shortage of leads that we could tap into, whereas wholesalers are climbing on top of each other just to get, the same lead.
Yeah, exactly. And again, with the bird dogs, you can actually, and we go into this in more detail with the live training, but you can actually set them up with a call rail number where you pay them, say, $10 an hour, but they've got to bring you 4 leads an hour. And if you say, okay, I'm paying you $10 an hour, 5 hours a week. Okay, that's $50 an hour. That's all you're paying. But if they have a quota of, say, 4 leads an hour, that's 20 leads a week they have to bring you. 20 leads, that's probably more than you can even handle, 20 leads a week. But you give them a call rail number, so if they have like a magnet on, you get a magnet made for their car with their call rail number. If a seller calls on that number, you know which bird dog to pay, who you owe a commission, a referral fee to. We also use the Driving for Dollar app. You can use that. That's great for bird dogs as well. Where they're driving around, they use the Driving for Dollar app and sends you the leads.
Oh, there's your card.
That's the old picture of me, but there's the magic business card right there. The bottom line just says, this is what you take to a real estate meeting. Have this made, just says, I pay $1,000 for low equity real estate leads, $1,000 cash. Put that on a business card. It says the same thing on the back side. Hand those out to wholesalers, real estate meetings, excuse me, that you're generating, these people are sending you their dead leads. Text blast platforms, again, there's different types of different platforms you can use to text blast where you can where you utilize the web scraper we have for text blasting.
Yeah, that has a built-in text blaster.
And there's others that we've tried out that are actually have a really nice platform, nice desktop where you can take those numbers, put them in the text blast, and start blasting the sellers. But again, the key is to get a foot in the door, and then if you're doing text blast, one of the mistakes I've seen people make is where they do try to reach out to the seller via text. The seller responds, at least somewhat favorably, and now the student or the person goes out and is trying to have a whole conversation via text.
Right.
And I say,
Right.
man, as soon as that seller shows any openness to
Right.
At least purchase on the text, get them on the phone.
Yeah.
You don't close a deal over text.
No, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's crucial that you make that connection with the seller to start building that relationship.
Yes.
Because otherwise, I mean, as far as they can tell, they're just receiving text from who,
Right.
So it's very important to actually speak with the seller. But that boils down to, well, I'm afraid to talk to a seller. What if they ask me a question I don't know how to answer? What if this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, with our students, I mean, we're there helping them. But on your own, my advice would be, just take action. Stumble through it. And the more phone calls you make, the more sellers you talk to, the better you'll get at it.
And you just got to keep it very simple. Just keep the conversation simple. You're not going to have the answer to every possible question, but just keep it super simple and hit the bullet points. So I'm going to talk a little bit about direct mail. We're going to have a different section on direct mail specifically. But when it comes to direct mail, again, we've got a separate training that we're about to do on that. But I don't recommend starting off with direct mail. If you're going to be for lease options, I don't recommend starting off with direct mail because that's going to be the most expensive kind of marketing you can do. And with the mail pieces that we use, they're about $1 a piece because these are not ugly little yellow postcards. These are a very specific mail piece. And there's a reason we use them, and there's a reason that the response rate is so high. But once you start getting into direct mail, I recommend budgeting about $750 to about $1,250 a month for direct mail. And that's a whole art form that we're going to cover next. But if you're going to do direct mail, I don't recommend starting off with direct mail.
No.
But as you get into it, plan on spending about, call it $1,000 a month on direct mail. But
Once you have a few deals under your belt.
Right, yeah.
I agree.
Even if you get 1 or 2 deals under the belt,
Right.
then do direct mail.
Reinvest that in the marketing. Yeah.
And speaking of direct mail, so our next topic is going to be direct mail that we're going to cover in more detail here because that is an art form. It's also the quickest way to lose money on marketing. So you've got to do it right. So we're going to wrap this up on marketing to sellers, and now we're going to hit direct mail. So we'll see you on the next section on direct mail.